All right, welcome to Big Time Basketball, the basketball segment of the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. I'm your host once again, James, and I'm joined once again by Nate. What's up, man?
So
Today in the podcast, we'll just be recapping everything that happened in the NBA Allstar Weekend. We'll go over the 3-point skills and dunk contests as well as the actual All-Star game recap. Then we'll hop into some fantasy pickups for basketball, and then we'll just go over some of the general outlook in the NBA, and then preview some of the upcoming games for Wednesday and Thursday. So let's just hop right into it. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that happened on our All-Star Weekend. Just going first to the three-point competition, and I guess it really wasn't much of a contest there. Steph Curry just doing what he does best. Any thoughts on the win by Steph Curry?
I mean, it was Steph Curry. It was closer than I thought it would be. Actually, for like the 3-point challenge, I was wondering why they didn't have Damian Lillard and Trey Young in the 3-point challenge. I feel like it would have been more competitive if those two
And
were in it.
didn't Buddy Hield win last year? I think he should have been in it.
Yeah, him too.
Yeah, so like there were a few guys. I felt like Jason Tatum didn't do as well. There were a couple of guys that shouldn't have been in there. But overall, Mike Conley is very good. Steph Curry, of course. Those two really stood out for me. The rest of the competition was sort of a mixed bag. I mean, they could have even had Devin Booker in there. I
Yeah.
think no, actually, I think he had an injury, so he couldn't be in it. But yeah, just they could have had a few more recognizable shooters, in my opinion, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, Jason Tatum is a good shooter, but like not
Not
on
as
the
much of a
level
range
of like
shooter. Yeah, not
yeah.
as much of a range shooter. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And then yeah, I guess guys like Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brown didn't do as well. Um, yeah, so maybe they could sort of stack it up a little bit, make it a little bit more difficult for Steph Curry. I think Buddy Hield and Damian Lillard would have made it a lot more difficult for him.
Yeah. I know the commentators were saying Steph should shoot with his left hand to make it more of a competition.
Conley did make it a competition for him. Like, let's not joke about that. Like
Yeah.
he really like he almost beat Steph Curry. If Curry hadn't made those few in a row that he made there at the end, I think Conley would have walked out with it.
Yeah, I think that that's probably I wouldn't say the closest, but he did manage to keep it close. So at least there was that.
Yeah, for sure. And then going to the skills competition, Demantis Sabonis from the Indiana Pacers takes this. I think he was in the final with Vucevic, and they were both trying to shoot that final 3-pointer, and then they both kept missing. And then we were just sort of waiting to see who was going to get the last one, and then Sabonis ended up getting it. So two big men there, solid big men, both of them all stars, and yeah, they really made this competition exciting because some of them looked like they were running like point guards through this whole competition.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I was kind of expecting Doncic to go a little bit farther, but he didn't make it, unfortunately. I'm also surprised Chris Paul didn't make it that as far as I think he could have.
Didn't Chris Paul get beat by Vucevic or someone beat Chris Paul? I remember it might have been Vucevic beating him. Actually, yeah. I think in that round, Chris Paul wasn't able to make his 3-point shot, and Vucevic actually made it before him, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
So yeah, those two forwards slash centers, they did really well. Covington obviously was one of the main specialist guys for this event. Obviously, he didn't do as well as he expected, but yeah, it was a exciting little event that sort of made the whole All Star Weekend just have a little bit more, I guess, flavor to it.
Yeah. I was wondering, I guess, just a kind of like as a side note, I was wondering if you think they should add like a horse challenge.
What I've seen, I guess, differing from like whether it's NFL, NHL, when they do like Pro Bowl or like All Star stuff, they seem to have a lot more events than they do at NBA. NBA, it's normally just like two or three main things, like 3 point and dunk, and then sometimes they'll have some sort of skill thing. Horse would be cool. They can have, I think there's a game called like Knockout where it's like bump, where you can bump people's like basketball. Like you have to try and sort of make as many shots as you can without the other person doing it, and you go in like a line or something. So they have different things like that. I guess they could maybe add. I know they were trying to shorten this year's All Star Weekend, so maybe that's why they didn't have any other events.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been possible this year, but like maybe next year, the year
Yeah,
after,
going
they could
forward.
probably add some stuff.
Yeah,
I
for
know,
sure.
especially because like people have been complaining that it's kind of stale. Like the dunk contest, well, we'll talk about that later, but like just in general, I guess people have been saying it's kind of stale. So
Yeah, I guess you were going to talk about the dunk contest, and yeah, let's get to that. I guess people complained that there weren't a lot of recognizable names in terms of trying to generate like an audience on television. You know, when you have a dunk contest, you got recognizable names. Like let's just say Zach Levine was in it. Let's just say maybe a guy like DeMar DeRozan was in it. I don't know who are so I know Aaron Gordon probably wouldn't have been in it this year, but maybe you get some other guys there in the dunk contest that people can actually recognize, and then you might get a better turnout in terms of viewership.
I guess just in terms of the dunks too, like the dunks that they were doing, I think like they were good, but the thing about the dunk contest is there's so many like crazy dunks that have been done that you have to like really pull out
Be
all the
really
stops.
creative, yeah.
Yeah. So it's
I,
like it's hard to impress anybody now. Like if you just do a regular free throw line dunk, people just think that it's kind of average now.
yeah, for sure, I can definitely agree with you. Just looking at what happened in this dunk contest, and Fernie Simmons from Portland won the dunk competition. He beat New York Knicks rookie Obi Toppin, and I believe there was one other person in the competition. Yeah, it was Cassius Stanley from the Indiana Pacers. All of them had pretty decent dunks. I know they really didn't compare on the level of other years, like you mentioned, but I actually was really impressed with Toppin. I really thought that he had some great dunks. I was surprised he didn't win. That whole kiss the rim thing that Simmons did didn't really impress me as much as some of the stuff that Toppin did. I'm really surprised that Toppin didn't win the whole thing, but I guess that was just sort of up to the judges.
Yeah, I think I guess his first round dunk I thought was pretty good because he was like taking it off of like a smaller rim into like the main one, which I thought was like kind of interesting, but
Hmm.
again, it's not like I guess it's not like the most creative thing that's ever been done. So
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, and yeah, it was. I think the name value really matters in events like this. I know we were talking about the 3 point competition needing some bigger names there in terms of 3 point shooters. Maybe even a guy like Joe Harris could have been in the 3 point shooting contest. I know he's I believe he's won that before. So I guess just for the dunk contest, you just need some recognizable names of guys that can deliver, and they have the big name value. Of course, you throw in some rookies because you sort of want to like push forward the younger talent in the league, but having all younger guys, it didn't really generate as much of an audience, I think, as they may have wanted.
yeah, I think it's like you need a mix of like I guess big names to like draw in like interested people, and
Exactly.
then you have some like I guess some names that people might not necessarily know. And then when they do good at the dunk contest, that's how you kind of build their name brand.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that would have been the right way to go. And just moving into the actual All-Star game, um, this was a big win for Team LeBron. They topped Team Durant 170 to 150. Kevin Durant didn't actually play in this game because of injury. And I just want you, before we get into all the stats, I just want to know your general reaction to the game.
Um, I guess it was. I feel like in terms of how much effort they're putting into the game, I feel like it was a little bit more than I guess previous years, but not like, for example, like way in the past where the All-Star game was like really competitive. I'm not sure if I would put it at that level, but say like maybe like the past few years for sure.
Yeah, I know a lot of people commented about last year's game being, one of the best All-Star games that they had ever seen. Um, and I guess this year might not have lived up to that hype, but I don't think it was too bad of a game. Just getting into some of the stats, and just looking at some of the main guys from Team LeBron, first of all, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 35 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He was named the MVP of the All-Star game, so he really had a solid game. Other guys, Damian Lillard, 32 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. You had here Chris Paul, 6 points, 8 rebounds, 16 assists, 3 steals. Solid game for him as well. Steph Curry, 28 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. And then just some other guys with a lot of points. Jaylen Brown, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. And I guess Rudy Gobert, 10.7 rebounds, 1 assist. Paul George, 17 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. And surprisingly, LeBron James only played 12 minutes. I don't know whether he was battling an injury or whatnot. He only had 4 points, 2 rebounds, and 4 assists. I guess maybe the question is who really stood out from this specific team, Team LeBron?
Um, there's a lot of guys who stood out, so it's kind of hard to say. I guess maybe Damian Lillard because of his last shot. Both him and Stephen Curry, they're both going, I guess, shooting threes back and forth. So
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah, I guess that's kind of what stood out to me.
Yeah, and I guess just looking at Team Kevin Durant, some of the big players from this team, Bradley Beal, he was definitely deserving of his All Star spot. 26 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. He was solid. Kyrie Irving, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 12 assists, 2 steals. Great game for him as well. James Harden, 21 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Jason Tatum also had 21 points. He also had 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals. Solid game for him. And then Donovan Mitchell throwing up 15 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Those are just some of the lines for some of the main players on these teams. And I guess just for Team Durant, maybe there was someone that didn't perform as well. You think just maybe what happened with this team? Why did they lose this game?
Um, well, I guess they were missing Kevin Durant. I feel like if he was in the game, I think it would have been closer. It wouldn't have been like 20 points, maybe like 5 or 10, maybe.
Yeah, I guess just overall they didn't have that high end talent on both ends. I know they did have Kawhi Leonard, but other than that, they didn't really have many top defensive players. That's one thing I noticed about this team. So if you don't have defense, Team LeBron definitely looked better in terms of defense. So I think that's the reason why they came out on top. Any last thoughts on any part of the All Star Weekend?
Um, I think that's pretty much it, other than wanting to see some more events in the future, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, hopefully it can just become a bigger event next year. Hopefully everything will be more open. They won't have to restrict everything to one evening. So maybe they might be able to do something with that.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, let's get into some fantasy basketball pickups. So how about I let you start? You give maybe three of your pickups, and then I'll give maybe a few of mine, and then you finish off yours, and then I'll finish off mine. How about that?
Sure. I'll start with my first three then. I guess my first pick is Avika Zubac. He is still ranked 84. He's only 37% rostered so far. So I'd say he's a pretty decent shallow pickup. He's averaging 8.2 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist. And his last game, he got a double double at 50% field goal, and he had 100% free throw, and he had 1 assist and 1 steal. And the game before, he had 8 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists. So pretty solid. I think that for at least the next week, he should be able to get decent numbers, especially because of his schedule. So I think if you're in a shallow league, I think you should take a look at him. And for my next pick, it's going to be Darius Baisley, 49% rostered. So there's a high chance that he's probably already taken. But if for some reason you see him on the waiver wire, you should probably take a look at him. Uh, he's averaging 11.9 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. His last 2 games, he averaged 11 points, 10 rebounds, and he got, I guess, 1 3 in his last game and two threes the game before. And in his last game, he also got a steal and a block, and he's been getting heavy minutes. So I think if you see him on the waiver, you should definitely take a look at him if he's still there. And I guess for my third pick, I've got Tristan Thompson. He's 32% rostered. I think he's good for shallow leagues and for some deep leagues if he's still on the waiver wire. He's averaging 7.9 points, 8.3 rebounds, and 1 assist so far. And in his last 2 games, he got 13 points. For his last game, he got 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist. And the game before, he got 13 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. And he's been getting over 50% field goal. So if you need a player with a lot of rebounds and some upside in points, you should take a look at Tristan Thompson. So those are 3 of my guys.
All right, those pickups sound great. Let me get to my first pickup. I have Jeff Green for the Brooklyn Nets, and the reason I have him, he's only 12% rostered in Yahoo leagues. I have him because he's been out with an injury, and he really needs to be picked up because he should be back from his injury following the All-Star break. He was a game time decision before the All-Star break, but they chose to sit him out. He's going to be playing in a starting five that comprises of Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin, and most likely it's going to be Jeff Green. I definitely see him starting over someone like DeAndre Jordan, just because of just him being that more flexible body out there. He'll definitely be seeing minutes because the big four won't always be on the court. He's a tri position eligible, a small forward, power forward, and center. So he has that kind of flexibility both on the court and in your lineup. So assuming that he is healthy and ready to go for the first game after the All-Star break, he's definitely a must-add in my eyes. And then just looking at another player, I have Robert Williams, center for the Boston Celtics. He's just under 50% owned. He's been added over 10% in the last week. He's just been playing like really solid. He's been averaging, I'd say, in his last 4 games, he's been averaging over 10 points. He's been averaging close to 10 rebounds. He's been averaging around 3 or 4 assists. He gets steals. In those games, he's averaged 3 blocks a game, which is insane. And his turnover rate is low and his percentages are very solid. So I feel like Robert Williams is definitely a must add, whether shallow or deep leagues. And I guess just one more pickup to talk about is Jalen Brunson, guard from the Dallas Mavericks. I know I mentioned him last week. He's only around 35% rostered. He's been added close to 10% in the last week. He's just been putting up amazing stats in his last, I'd say, 5 games, 5 or 6 games actually. He's just been averaging close to 20 points, around 5 rebounds, around 3 assists, around 2 steals per game. His percentages have been solid. His free throws close to perfect. His field goals around between zero point 0.5 and 0.6. So this guy's just been balling out of his mind. He should be a must add in either shallow or deep leagues. So I'll get back to you for the rest of your picks and then I'll finish off.
Sure. So I've got 4 picks left. So my fourth pick is going to be Dorian Finney-Smith. He's more of a deep league pick. He's about 13% rostered right now. He's averaging 8.2 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 1.4 assists for the season. He's been getting heavy minutes, so you don't have to worry about him spending too much time on the bench. Um, he gets mostly rebounds, so if you need, I guess, like a forward or a small forward or a power forward who gets a lot of rebounds, you can kind of pick him up. He can get um, a lot of, well, not like he can get like double digits in points, but most of his value is in rebounding. Um, and I guess for my fifth pick, I've got Dwight Howard. Um, he's about 13% rostered right now. He's averaging 6.1 points, 7.3 rebounds. The reason I think that people should add him for now is Joel Embiid is going to be out for a bit because of, I think, the COVID protocol. So I think for the time being until Joel Embiid comes back, I think that people should take a look at Dwight Howard. His last game, he got 12 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block at 66.7% field goal. So pretty decent game, especially for the amount of minutes he was playing. He should be getting more minutes because again, he is filling in some minutes for Joel Embiid until Embiid comes back. Um, and for my, I guess for my next pick, I've got Patrick Williams. He's averaging 10.2 points, 4.8 rebounds, 1.2 assists. And in his last game, he got 13 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and 3 blocks. And in the game before, he got 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 block with 2 threes. And he's been getting major minutes pretty much every game, and he's had pretty decent field goal percent. He's only had under 40% once in the past couple weeks. So uh, you should definitely take a look at him if you see him on the roster. He's only 20% rostered. So if you see him on the waiver, you should definitely take a look at him. And my last pick is going to be Isaiah Roby. Um, he's averaging 8.6 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 1.8 assists. He's only 10% rostered. So I think if you're in a deep league and you see him on the waiver, you should take a look at him. His a lot of his value is in rebounds, but he can fill other categories as well. I think he normally gets anywhere between 4 rebounds and 8 rebounds. And he's been getting at least a couple of assists every game. He's been getting some steals most games, and he occasionally gets some blocks. His field goal percent is pretty decent. He does shoot the three sometimes, so that can hurt his field goal percent, but I think it shouldn't be too bad. And he gets a lot of minutes as well, so you don't really have to worry about him not having enough minutes to get decent production as well. So yeah, if you see Isaiah Roby on the waiver in a deep league, you should definitely pick him up. And those are my picks.
All right, sounds good. I just have a couple more here. I have Elfrid Payton from the New York Knicks. I know he battled an injury. A lot of people dropped him, but in the game before his injury, he had 20 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and he was playing over 30 minutes in the 2 games before he got injured. Then after his injury, his first game back, he played 35 minutes. He had 20.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 1 block. And he's just playing some solid basketball. It's clear the Knicks want him in the main rotation, playing over 30 minutes a game. I'm surprised he's under 40% owned. He's only around 30%. 35% rostered in Yahoo leagues, and he's definitely someone that needs to be added as he's going to be an integral part of the Knicks if they do want to make a push towards the playoffs. So that's Definitely a player that you should be looking to add in terms of the point guard position. And just one other player I have is Malik Monk. He's around 40% rostered in Yahoo leagues. He was added around 15% in the last week. So definitely people are jumping on this guy, which means that you should be doing that as well. He's been averaging, oh boy, in his last, I'd say 6 games, he's been averaging well over 20 points, around 5 rebounds per game, around 3 assists per game. He's just been so solid. His free throw's been great. His field goal has been around zero point 0.5. So he's just been really solid. And definitely he's had like some of these games where he's had close to 30 points as well. So definitely Monk is someone to add as he covers a whole leap of categories for fantasy. And yeah, those are the end of my fantasy pickups. So let's just get into just a look at sort of the landscape of the NBA where teams are sitting at in the standings. I'll just start out with the Eastern Conference here. Um, this is sort of just an outlook after the All-Star break where teams are sitting. We got Philadelphia at first, got Brooklyn at second, and Milwaukee at third. Those are sort of the top heavy teams with really good records. And then in fourth, you got Boston Celtics. Then you got the New York Knicks in fifth, the Miami Heat in sixth, the Charlotte Hornets in seventh, and the Toronto Raptors in eighth. And then I guess just outside, we talked about Chicago Bulls, Indiana Pacers, and the Atlanta Hawks. So, what are your thoughts sort of on the Eastern Conference? I guess just the way things are looking.
Um, I think this is pretty close to I think how the playoffs are probably gonna be looking. I think there's a possibility maybe for I guess for the next week or two, Brooklyn may catch up and take the first spot for like maybe I guess the next couple of weeks because
Oh yeah, Embiid
that
and Ben Simmons.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that the 76ers will become, I guess, beatable at least for this part of March. I guess it remains to be seen if the 76ers will be able to take the one spot back. But if the Brooklyn Nets run away with it, then I guess you could see Brooklyn at the one spot and Philadelphia at the second spot.
And I guess just one more question about the Eastern Conference. You're a Raptors fan. I also enjoy watching the Raptors, even though I am a Spurs fan. But I just want to ask you, is it possible that the Raptors could miss the playoffs? I know they've had players out; they haven't been playing well. But how do you think that they're going to sort of either rebound and get into the playoffs, or what do you think might happen with this team?
Um, the Raptors have been dealing with I think it was called contract contact tracing. They have been going through their COVID protocols as well. I believe Pascal has been out, Van Fleet has been out, so the team has been hurt by that a lot. Um, but unfortunately, it's the next man up. So whoever's on the roster has to be ready to kind of win. And the Raptors do pride themselves on their depth, so this is pretty much now is the time to kind of show how deep the Raptors are. And as hard as it is to kind of not have Pascal and Van Fleet in the lineup, the Raptors still should be able to. I mean, I would say as a Raptors fan, I would hope that they'd be able to hold on to at least the eighth spot, if not get into the seventh spot.
Yeah, and just another thing that a lot of people don't talk about with the Raptors is they've pretty much been playing on the road all season with Tampa Bay not being their actual home. I don't know whether it doesn't feel like home because I mean they don't have a winning record either home or away this season, which is very problematic if the Raptors are trying to make the playoffs. Just never having that feeling of playing at the Scotiabank Arena maybe hurting the Raptors this season. Just what are your thoughts on that?
Um, well, I mean, people always say that like when you play at home, it's just completely different, especially at the Raptors arena. It's the I guess just the way it feels just playing there is completely different. The fans they really do give the Raptors a boost. The Raptors really do feed off of that. So I guess they need to they're looking to find like an extra source of, I guess, motivation to kind of keep themselves going forward. But I think they I think they should be able to make the playoffs, but I do think it definitely hurts not being able to play in Toronto.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how the rest of the season goes for them in terms of them trying to make the playoffs. And I guess just looking at the Western Conference now, Utah still firmly ahead there in the West, but we have a new second place team, and that's the Phoenix Suns, um, being ahead of both the Lakers and the Clippers now. What's your opinion on this Phoenix team?
I mean, they're really good. It looks like the addition of Chris Paul has been it's been more than worth it, especially with where Phoenix has been in past years. I think this is the best that they've been in the past few years.
Yeah, and then just looking further down, Spurs have slipped a little bit. They're now in the seventh seed, and now the Dallas Mavericks are ahead of the Golden State Warriors for the eighth seed, with Golden State being in ninth and the Memphis Grizzlies being at 10th. I don't know. Does Golden State still make the playoffs? The Mavericks have won 8 out of their last 10. They're on a really hot streak right now. I mean, do you think this could come down to the wire near the end of the season?
It might come down to the wire, especially if Dallas manages to keep their hot streak up. Golden State is on a losing streak, so they do have their work cut out for them, but they are only behind by 2 losses. So it's doable, but we'll have to see, especially because Memphis only has 16 losses. They're at exactly 500. So they're also going to be fighting hard for that 8th spot as well.
Yeah, for sure. We shouldn't count them out. And then I guess just any teams after that, do you think any of them have a shot? Maybe the Pelicans or another team?
I think it's a bit too late at this point, especially in the West. It's going to be really hard to keep up.
Yeah, I'm just really hoping that the Spurs can keep this going. They just been playing well. Hopefully, they get guys like LaMarcus Aldridge and Derek White back healthy. If they can have a full lineup, I think they're definitely a playoff team to look out for. And I guess between Dallas and Golden State, like you said, maybe even Memphis, we'll definitely have to see who grabs that eighth spot.
Yeah, it's going to be close, I think.
Yeah, just one last question. Do you think the Lakers keep slipping without Anthony Davis, or do you think they can be a top four seed?
Um, I think, well, they definitely do need Anthony Davis to, I guess, make it far in the playoffs, but I don't I don't know if they would be lower than fourth, maybe like fifth at the lowest, but I think they should still be top four.
And one last note is that Houston's lost 13 in a row. Man, it's rough for them. Yeah, we'll definitely have to see if stars like John Wall and Victor Oladipo want to stay in Houston or whether they're going to have to tear everything down. But let's just move into some of the games for Wednesday and Thursday. We'll start with Wednesday's games. There are a couple games. We'll start out with the Washington Wizards against the Memphis Grizzlies. In terms of the lines have opened up with the Grizzlies being a 3 point favorites against the Washington Wizards. Who do you see winning this game? And if you see the Grizzlies winning, do you think they can win by more than 3 points?
Um, just looking at some of the past matchups, and the Grizzlies have won most of those. So I think based on that, especially with, I guess they have a better record right now, I'd say that the Grizzlies have an advantage.
Yeah, I definitely think the Grizzlies can win by more than 3 points in this game. I feel like that they are the better team and definitely trying to make that playoff push. This is pretty much a must win game for them.
Yeah, for sure.
And then just looking at the second game of the two-game slate, we have the San Antonio Spurs against the Dallas Mavericks. I know generally the Spurs have been better on the road this season, but they are 4-point underdogs to the said Dallas Mavericks, who have won 8 out of their last 10. Who do you see winning this game, and how much do you think that they'll win by?
Um, I feel like it's gonna be pretty close. They're both very good teams, but I'm gonna go. I guess I'll just be different and go with the Spurs on this one. I think that the Spurs they do have the potential to make an upset.
Yeah, assuming that everyone comes back healthy after the All-Star break, then definitely the Spurs look like a good choice. But Dallas has been hot, and Luca, if he wants to get a win, he'll go out and get it.
Yeah, he's looking like the future of the league, so you never know what he's gonna do.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess just moving to Thursday slate, we don't have the lines for Thursday as of yet. But I guess just looking at the games, we can sort of project who we think is going to win each matchup. We have the Detroit Pistons against the Charlotte Hornets. I'm going with Charlotte here. I don't know whether you think Detroit even has a chance here, or is this just pretty straightforward?
I would just say just pick Charlotte.
Yeah, I think that's something that we can agree on. And then the Brooklyn Nets against the Boston Celtics. I don't believe Kevin Durant is going to play in this game. I might be wrong, but I still think that Brooklyn can win this game.
Brooklyn's just too deep. It's hard to see them losing to anybody.
And especially if Blake Griffin is in the lineup, that just makes them deeper than they already are. So, and like I said, Jeff Green should be coming back. So they're definitely getting their team together. I think that they definitely win this game. They are at home, and they are 9-1 in their last 10. So they've been playing really solid.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because Boston was really good last year, and I think if Brooklyn wasn't so good, I think Boston would make it farther in the playoffs. But I mean, we'll still have to see. The playoffs haven't happened yet, but for this game, I think Brooklyn's gonna have the advantage.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at two teams that are sort of struggling there in the East with similar records. You have the 17 and 19 Raptors against the 16 and 20 Atlanta Hawks. And um, I don't know if the Raptors players are back, like Van Vliet and Siakam. Do you see them beating the Hawks? And if they're not back, how do you see this game going?
Um, I think if Van Fleet and Siakam are back, I think it's kind of a toss up. But if they're not healthy, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to be a little pessimistic and say the Hawks would win.
Yeah, I think definitely the Raptors realize that this is a must-win game, and if they get everyone back, I'm pretty sure they can take this game. And moving on to the next Eastern Conference matchup, we got the Miami Heat against the Orlando Magic. Going into the All-Star break, the Miami Heat were one of the hottest teams in the NBA, and I think they'll continue it here. What do you think about this game?
I think the Heat slump is done at this point. Um, the Heat were always a playoff team. They just needed to get out of their slump. So I'm definitely taking the Heat on this one.
And then just looking at the next game, we got the Philadelphia 76ers at the Chicago Bulls, with the two best players out of the 76ers lineup in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Do you think this gives the Bulls an advantage, or do you still see the 76ers being able to pull out this game?
I I want to say that the 76ers still will be able to stay in the game. Uh, they still do have Tobias Harris. They still do have Seth Curry. They have Matisse Thybulle. So I think it's still going to be a competitive game, but the Bulls do have upset potential.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a must-win game for the Bulls, sort of being one of those bubble teams there around the eighth or ninth spot. So they'll definitely be looking to capitalize on this shorthanded 76ers team, if you will. Speaking of a solid matchup, we've got the New York Knicks at the Milwaukee Bucks. So the third place Eastern team against the fifth place team. Do the Knicks have any chance in this, or is this just a straight Milwaukee win, do you think?
You know, oddly enough, the Knicks did win. I think it was the December 27th game. They won by 20 points. So there is a chance. I don't
Mhm.
know about how likely it would be, but I would still say if you want a safe pick, just still pick the Bucks.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Bucks being at home obviously should definitely help them out. And speaking of a team that can only seem to win at home this year, it's the New Orleans Pelicans home against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think this game, the Pelicans, most of their wins have been at home this season. They've really struggled on the road. It's a struggling team in the Timberwolves coming to New Orleans. I think it should be safe to say that this is a game for the Pelicans, but what do you think?
Um, yeah, I'm still feeling the Pelicans on this one.
And then just moving into the next game, we got the Dallas Mavericks playing a back to back here. They're at the OKC Thunder. Um, I guess if Dallas doesn't win against the Spurs, they should be a safe pick to win this game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm liking Dallas as well in this game. And then moving to the later end of the slate, we're looking at the Golden State Warriors at the LA Clippers. Who do you like in this game?
Um, I want to say that I like the Clippers, but the Warriors do need a win, so I think they're gonna keep it close.
Yeah, this definitely is probably within 3 points, I would think, especially when you got a guy like Steph Curry on the court. Things will always be close. I do like the Clippers better overall, but I guess we'll just have to see in this game. And speaking of another close matchup, the Phoenix Suns at the Portland Trailblazers. Who do you like here?
Wow, it's gonna be kind of tough to say. They both have some good scorers, but I guess just on Portland side, it kind of depends um, if they have CJ McCollum. I'm not entirely sure about his injury status at the moment. So
Yeah, let me just take a look and see if there's an update on his injury status, whether he will be coming back. I know he was cleared for contact. I believe that he might be a game time decision, so I guess it'll just depend on that. But I mean, Phoenix, they've won four in a row. They've won eight out of their last 10. I think they should be a safe pick. And if they are somehow the underdog in this matchup, they're definitely a safe pick there as well to even come out on top. So definitely you'll get better odds if you take them in a wager on sort of like the money line, whether like just to win, they definitely be a great option. And then just one last game. Well, we've got the Houston Rockets at the Sacramento Kings. The Rockets, like we mentioned, have lost 13 games in a row. Um, I don't know. I still see the Kings winning, but do you think the Rockets can keep it close?
um, they have kept it close before, but I guess we'll just have to see. I think the Kings will definitely win. Um, I kind of want to see the Rockets make an upset, but I think at this point, I'm not really too sure about the Rockets.
I guess if both Wall and Oladipo are in the lineup, there's always upset potential. So you can always find great value with wagering on a team like the Rockets. But in the end, yeah, I think the Kings should be able to pull it out. I just don't know by how much.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the Wednesday and Thursday slates that we'll be previewing on Big Time Basketball, presented by the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. This is the end of the episode. We'll be coming out with Fanatics football and everything NHL episode later in the week. And then we'll be coming back next week on either Monday or Tuesday for another episode of Big Time Basketball. So, Nate, thanks for joining me as always, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.